Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth who proclaim this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakadash, Brakatum. So, getting into this, as you know, Amalek is being exposed on every level, and they're at war with the 99%, also known as the rest of the peasants, because that's how they look at everybody, as well as their fellow Edomites, right, who call themselves Christians. A lot of Edomites call themselves Christians. We know that he's an atheist, etc., but a lot of them under the guise of Christianity. Well, these small hats, these Amalekites, are after them too, as this video goes into.
All right. So we got Shalom. All right, we in there. Okay. First and foremost, copyright disclaimer under Title 17 USC Section 107. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use, right? So I'm going to read that off. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it here. All right. Shalom. Shalom. Before I get started, we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, live lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakak Kodash. And I want to get right to the point here. Saw these two videos earlier that I want to play here, and a lot of things came to mind. And as you see here from this video, this first video we're going to play, well, actually this will be the second video, which we'll come back to, but the title here, this is from the Jimmy Dore Show. It says, "Now that you admits, you know who is at war with Christians in the West," all right? So I want to get into that. And before we go there, because as I did the lesson, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, I was just thinking about the fact of how these devils are getting ready to come down upon the whole world, all right? Because all this, the narrative about the small hat and everything, and what they're doing, the exposure and all that, there's nothing else that they can really do. So at this point, they're just getting ready to attack everybody, and that's what I was thinking about. Real quick, let me show you, just bring this back up. Okay, because like you said, it's getting ready to go all the way there, all right? This is going to tie into also the Noahide laws, all right? They're going to have a meeting in November, this November coming up, to try to establish a global religion, all right? We'll make all that point again. But again, this is from naturalnews.com. All right, it's back in 2024. Trump says death penalty, a proper punishment for anti-you-know-what in America, right? And another point, right? Let me read this too. And we'll get back into all this too, but let me just go here too, because I brought this out as well a couple weeks back. This is from the Wine Press, okay? It says it begins, all right? It's getting ready to go down, all right? Whether you can see it or not, okay? They're going to make a move. It says it begins Israel to host world's first official international congress of Noahides to install global courts of law, resulting in persecution of all believers in Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, right? It says this November, the most committed Noahide leaders from around the globe will gather in Jerusalem to formally found together the World Noahide Movement, all right? So shit is about to get critical, like I said before, okay? So these are all these different things that came to mind. But like I said, we'll get into all of that in a minute, right? Let me grab the scripture before we go to this video here with Kim Iverson, all right? This came out 8 days ago, right? But I want to read this scripture, and we'll get into all of it here. So this is back in Revelation chapter 12, right? It's Revelation chapter 12, verse 10, and it reads, it says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power, and the anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down." All right, Esau is being cast down. All right, he's being chased out of the world, he's being found out, he's being exposed. All right, war is being prepared against him. Okay, his lies are no longer working. The spells that he's put out here, the witchcraft, the false narrative, it's all falling apart against these particular people, right? Small hats. "For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night." Verse 11, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." Right? And this testimony is what's tearing down this man's system. Okay? The testimony of Yahweh Shai Shai, which is coming forth from the prophets. "And by the word of their testimony, and they love not their lives unto death," because this is the time that we're in, man. Okay? Major persecution. All right? You should be like madmen staring now. We're going to get that too. All right? So we understand that, hey, part of this thing is that we may well be martyrs for this thing, man. All right? That's the reality of what we're involved in. All right? Going back to what we just read here. Okay? These Noahide laws, all right, they're going to install these Noahide laws to install global courts of law resulting in persecution of all believers in the Lord and Yahweh Shem Shai. Right? Because they're at the point now where they're putting themselves up as God. And they're going to force the world to bow down to them. That's what this is all about. It's all part of that NWO, man. Okay? But anyway, let me finish this out and get to the point. Okay? Revelation 12 and 12, it reads, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea." Okay, the whole world, right? "For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time." So again, these videos prove that. These two videos that I'm going to play prove that these Edomites, these Amalekites, have nothing but a short time. All right, the time is up. Their back is against the wall. All right, they're talking about, bringing the Samson option. Okay, they're prepared to go to war with the West. They're persecuting Christians, so-called any believers of the Bible. They're establishing that anti, around the world. All right, you can't criticize them. You can't speak out against them. It's all going there. Is the point I'm making. All right, so they're going to come down with that great wrath because they have but a short time. All right, this is the devil that the Bible speaks of, and we got to bring this out. Okay, as we always do. For the devil, let me get that real quick. All right, that word devil.
Strong's G 1228. Diabolos. Diabolos.
Right, that's the word for devil. And the point. Prone to slander, slanderous, accusing falsely, and as he saw even the false accuser. Definition 2, metaphorically applied to a man who, by opposing the cause of the Most High, may be said to act the part of the devil or side with him. All right, these are the Edomites, man. Okay, they're the physical incarnation of the spiritual demon Satan. All right, this is them. But anyway, let's get to it. Enough of me rambling. All right, so let's play this first. This is the one I want to play first from Kim Iverson. So here we go. Let me go back. Bear with me 1 second. I don't know why I did that, but we'll bring it back. Hold on. 1 second. Where are we at? This thing always be acting up. Okay. 1 second. Let me let this get pulled up. Hold on. Come on, man. What the hell's going on? Okay, here we go. We got it in the screen. All right. So display. So this is from Kim Iverson 8 days ago. Spitting attacks against Christians on the rise in Israel. And it's crazy too how they push all this propaganda, by these pastors to support, these people. And here it is. They're ready to, wage war against you.
Apparently, Christian hate is on the rise in Israel. Why? We're giving them everything they want. Why are you hating on us? Apparently, there's a rise in spitting attacks against Christians. They're getting worse, not less, but worse. It says here, in Jerusalem's Old City, a group of Israeli teenagers recently banged on the door of the headquarters of the Armenian Apostolic Church and asked if there were Christians inside it. They wanted to spit at them. The boys said it was a religious duty or mitzvah to humiliate Christians, or as they called them, idol worshippers. We are supposed to hate them, explained one teen.
Yeah, where's Vocab Malone on this topic, man? Where the hell are you Christian apologists at? Why are you not addressing this? All right?
Yeah, they got nothing to say.
How you feel about so-called Christians, man? Yeah, like I said, they push the propaganda that you're supposed to, worship them and support them and shit, and they fucking hate you. And it shows you Christians are retarded, man.
Yep, very retarded.
You don't know what the hell's going on, all right? And the fact that you support these people is just madness, Anyway, let me move on.
In an Israeli flag. So, wow, okay. That's interesting. Now, of course, the Israelis have to defend themselves because, fair enough, they want to make their own counterstatement. And Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or Israel's Foreign Ministry, writes this out saying, the Wall Street Journal chose to write about Christians in Israel. The Wall Street Journal took radical voices and extreme cases and turned it into the face of an entire country while ignoring nearly 200,000 Christians whose lives tell the opposite story. Over the past month, Christian Israelis have appeared on the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs social media channels. They spoke in their own words about their lives, their freedom, their success, their integration, and their pride in being Israeli. Not one of those Christians was included. Instead, after the Washington Post, CNN, and others, the Wall Street Journal has now repeated the same formula. Find those most willing to condemn Israel, present them as so-called authentic Christian voices, and reduce the Christian experience here to the disgraceful actions of a tiny extremist fringe. Israel's the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population is consistently growing. That's not true. Iran actually has the fastest growing Christian population, right?
Yes,
I think in the world right now, not just in the Middle East. Christian citizens serve on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, because Israeli state wiped out the Christian section of Syria.
Christian schools are among the strongest in the country. Churches operate freely. Christians participate at the highest levels of Israeli society. What the Wall Street Journal published is a distortion of reality disguised as reporting. It's disingenuous, misleading, and shameful, they said. That's kind of interesting because just anecdotally, there was just, who was it that just went to Israel? It was like an influencer. Who was it? He's a black guy. I don't remember his name, but he went over there and and he came back, so, maybe you know who he is, real right, Republican, and he says, I only was spit on once. Do you remember that? He goes, I only was spit on once. There's no problem against Christians there. I was only spit on once. Okay, so that's this guy who's totally pro-Israel and goes over there. And then there's my own experience when I was over there. I had a little kid chasing me down in the street, yelling at me and spitting, spitting on the ground and yelling at me. And he was like, I don't know, maybe 9, 10 years old. This was in Hebron. Now, I know you might say, well, but Hebron's really radical. But okay, but it happened to me. So I have that anecdotal story. And you got the guy that's super pro-Israel, and he shows up and he's like, I only got spit on once. It was cool. It was fine. And you got all these other reports that have come out from the Times of Israel, and they say top church leaders accuse Israeli authorities of abetting settler attacks in Taiba, which is a Christian village. Top Vatican cardinal says Israel's carrying out a massacre in Gaza, which they were carrying out a massacre. You got even Justin Amash's Christian family that was massacred in a Catholic church, I believe. Orthodox patriarchs says Jewish settlers threats to Christian presence in the Holy Land. The Latin patriarchs, these are all from Times of Israel, so not Wall Street Journal, not CNN, but the Times of Israel. And then here's another headline: Latin patriarch says new government has made life worse for Holy Land Christians. So, there's a lot of this hatred that is going on. Here was another story from July 5th.
Yeah. So you stupid Christians out there, you don't get it yet. All right, you don't see that these damn small hats hate you. They don't respect you. They don't even acknowledge you. And here it is. They're supposed to be the chosen people, right? But they don't even believe in the Messiah, man. You see how all of this shit is just madness, and it's all getting exposed. Speaking out loud. All right. She's going through all the different reports. Okay, but let me grab something real quick. And bear with me. I'm moving a little slow on this computer, so just hang in there with me 1 second. All right, let me let it all pull up. Speaking out loud. This is Isaiah 63. Let's go there. Right. Okay, Lord, we're going to pull it up there. All right, so this is Isaiah 63. All right, because these are not the people, man. Right? And this is what the world is beginning to understand. All right? The narrative doesn't add up. Isaiah 63:17 says, O Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways and hardened our heart from thy fear? Return for thy servant's sake the tribes of thine inheritance, right? And we always pose the question, where are the remainder of the tribes? Okay? Verse 18. The people of thy holiness have possessed it, but a little while our adversaries, it says our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary, right? The point, verse 19 says, we are thine, thou never bearest rule over them, okay? We are the true sons of the Most High, man, not them. We are thine, thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name, all right? So Amalek, essentially Amalek wasn't given the law, statutes, commandments. He wasn't given the Lord's name, okay? They're not the chosen people, and that's what's causing all this drama, okay? This is why the point of this lesson is that they're prepared to come down upon everybody because now the lies are over, man.
Yep. Salakia, I had to fix something real quick. But here we go.
Jimmy Dore show, all right, this came out yesterday, August 15th. I was watching this last night a little bit. Watched like the first 5 minutes, right? That's what inspired me to go into this now. Okay, but it says again, now that you admits you know who is at war with Christians and the West. All right, check this out.
And what you're reading now?
What I'm reading?
Yeah.
It's a book by historian named Barry Strauss called The Jews Against Rome. The Jews Against Rome.
What made you pick it up?
Well, we lost that one. We have to win the next one.
And what did he say by his own admission? Rome is the United States. So we've shown.
Hold on 1 second. This thing is skipping. Hold on. So I want this to play smoothly through. 1 second. Come on, man. All right.
And what you're reading now?
What I'm reading?
Yeah.
It's a book by a historian named Barry Strauss called The Jews Against Rome. The Jews Against Rome.
What made you pick it up?
Well, we lost that one. We have to win the next one.
And what did he say by his own admission? Rome is the United States. So we've shown you time and time again the mental illness of the people who lived in Israel, that they've done polls, and something like 80% of them think that they're not using enough force against the Palestinians.
That's what I say. Agree to disagree.
They're all for it. It's a mind virus that goes through the whole population of Israel. Now, I'm not saying Jews, because lots of Jews outside of Israel don't go along with it.
Told me about it.
Think about this. That's right. Think about this. A third of the Jews in New York City voted for Mamdani. Think about that. They hate Israel too. A lot of Hasidic Jews hate the idea of, they think that the idea of a country called Israel is a blaspheme. So don't make the mistake of saying it's all Jews, but it is all Zionists, and it is almost all the Jews who live in Israel. And here's a perfect example of how crazy they are. They really believe this biblical prophecy because they read the Bible literally, which is, of course, a mistake. The Bible was never meant to be taken literally.
Even literal standards, it doesn't apply to what they're saying. Even if you want to take it literally, it doesn't apply. They're going off Talmud, by the way. That's not Bible. That's not Torah. That's the Talmud. That's the spoken oral tradition. So no, even literally, it don't work. It doesn't work on any level. If you want to take it literally, they'll be vomited out of the land, according to Jeremiah, because they didn't keep the covenant.
That's right. You are correct. So here is a guy named Yom Tov Glasser, a top rabbi close to Netanyahu, just exposed Israel's real plan for Western relations that refuse Western nations that refuse to bend the knee to Israel. He openly declares that the moment America and Europe stop supporting the Jews, they will be brought to their knees and annihilated. You think I'm kidding? Let's listen.
Because the most powerful nations in the world have to go down to their knees. That's what happened in Egypt. That's what's going to happen in America.
They're going to have to go down to their knees and blow Israel.
Yeah.
But it's never going to happen. Why, Kurt? Because
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. So, like I said, they're prepared to come down upon everybody, man. They're going to force you to bow to them, right? Because don't forget, let me grab this too. And I'll grab the scripture, right? Let's play this again and I'll grab the scripture. They're setting everything in place.
For the first time in history, the Noahide laws were being formally and globally established, complete with a founding charter, rabbinic court, regional councils, a financial infrastructure, and the state of Israel's formal recognition. This November 2026, tens of thousands of non-Jews who follow the 7 laws of Noah will send delegates from 6 continents to Jerusalem for the first international Congress of the Noahides. Now, this is not some little convention. They are founding a global religious movement. The Noahides, or children of Noah, are non-Jews who keep 7 laws Jewish tradition says God gave all humanity. Don't murder, don't steal, don't commit sexual immorality, establish courts of justice, don't eat flesh torn from a living animal, don't curse God, and don't commit idolatry. Now, it's their definition behind that last one that Christians need to understand. The foremost codifier of Jewish law ruled plainly that worshiping Jesus Christ as God is idolatry. That's the Noahide classical foundational position. So this November, a rabbinic court is being formally chartered in Jerusalem to govern Noahide law for followers worldwide. That court, the financial system, the regional councils, all of it operates under that same definition of idolatry. An institution with the state of Israel's formal recognition is being built, and a legal standard that classifies the central act of Christian worship is the very thing it forbids. Now, this may seem like a small issue, but the violation of the Noahide laws, idolatry especially, means capital punishment by decapitation. Now, I believe this Noahide movement has the potential to grow into something much, much larger.
did
Gentiles
catch
and
that
Jews are creating a
capital
formally
punishment,
recognized religious
beheaded.
court in Jerusalem, governing a fast-growing global movement, starting with the position that
Beheaded
Christian
for not
worship is
worshiping the
forbidden.
beast
Now, on the
and its
final day
image.
of that Congress,
You
6
get it?
continental representatives present the signed charter to Israel's president himself.
And
So whatever you make
refusing
of
to
that,
take the
it's most
implant.
likely worth watching closely as we inch closer to that Congress in November.
There you go. So again, so based off that video, like I was saying, I started thinking about that. This is it. All right, this is how you're gonna do it. All right, he should be like madman, spreading on me, get that too. They're gonna come against the Bible, your belief, and Yahweh Shem Shai, you know, all that's gonna be deemed as treason, idolatry, you know. Let me see, 2 Ezra 16.
Not to mention the new
That's why I
Zionist
said
Bible
persecution's
they're
gonna be quick. This is
creating.
time, man. This is the war that they're declaring on everybody, you know.
They're going to ban the Bible too.
Wait, 2 Ezra 16 and 60, 67, right? All right, 2 Ezra 16 and 67, it says, Behold, Yahweh Shem Shai himself is the judge. Fear him, leave off from your sins, and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So the Most High leads you forth and deliver you from all trouble. Right? Verse 68, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. All right, and don't forget, as we're going to play next, the merger between America and Israel's government. All right, so they're ready to do what they got to do. It's the point I'm making. It says, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. And then it says, and then they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle, with things offered unto idols. All right, you know, this is the time where they're going to be taking people down to those FEMA camps, detention centers. Okay, we're going to have martial law in effect. Because remember, like I showed earlier, this all ties into that. When those Noahide laws are fully established, all these things are going to come into play. Okay, be not ignorant, man. All right, this is back in 2 Ezra 16 and 68 again. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. And they that consent unto them shall have you in derision and reproach and trodden under foot. So it doesn't matter whether you bow the knee or not, you're still going to be destroyed. Right? Whether you submit or not, you're still going to be trodden down underfoot. All right? So it's best to stand 10 toes down for Yahweh Shem Shai. All right? Verse 70, for there should be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. What did we just hear about this Noahide law stuff? All right? Your belief, your worship in Yahweh Shai and the Messiah is going to be deemed, worthy of death. Okay? This is what they're getting ready to establish, man. Okay? And remember that these troops that they got, the ICE and all of that, a lot of those troops are IDF. All right? They're already over here. All right? Prepared to do what they got to do. Okay? But there should be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They should be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. This is a time like no other, man. Jacob's trouble. All right? We're coming into that time. They're going to outlaw the Bible. Okay? They're going to deem the worship of the Lord as treason, as punishable by death. Okay? All those unjust laws and decrees. This is what's coming here, man. They should be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Right? This is where they're going to come down and snatch you up out your house. Okay? Detention centers, FEMA camps. They got the guillotines prepared. All right? All that's tied into this. Verse 73, then they should be known who are my chosen, and they should be tried as gold in the fire. Like I said, it's the time of a great trial of your faith, man. All right? Through much persecution shall we enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Shemel Shah, through much tribulation. Scripture say, man. All right? Verse 74, hear, O my beloved, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shah, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you the same. All right? And the Lord's going to deliver his elect in these times, man.
So, like everything else, so you got this NDAA coming up real soon. I'm going to try to fast forward that a little bit.
Leaders from around the
Start
world,
right here.
Jerusalem, to formally found together the World Noahide movement. All right, as we just saw with the stipulations.
The Noahide movement.
Okay. Let's get a little bit more. Verse 5, the proud have hit a snare for me in cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. So yeah, these are the traps. These are the traps that they're setting up, the gins. Okay? Let's go to this right here. Just remember, like I said, they've merged the militaries, right? Can't forget that.
News, the U.S. and Israeli militaries are going to merge in 5 months because the House of Representatives has just passed the bill. H.R. 8800, the bill that will integrate the IDF in the American military, has just passed by a vote of 219 to 206. This bill will now move to be voted on in the American Senate, which is extraordinarily more pro-Israel. It's almost guaranteed to pass. I mean, just look at the offices of the senator. These congressmen are going to vote on a bill that will merge the IDF, the American military, merge intelligence, meaning the Mossad is going to get everything on us. And it also allows Israel to conduct cyber warfare against me and you and Americans. After the Senate passes it, it's going to be up to one man to sign the bill into law. That is Donald Trump, who has already stated that he's going to be signing this bill, which is endorsed by Netanyahu. Last week, the Congress tried to pull Israel out of the bill, and that was blocked. And now they just passed it to make it law.
There you go. Well, how much more proof do you need, man? This is war. All right? They merged everything. You know, the next 5 months is supposed to merge and all that, but it's already set up, man. You know exactly what's about to happen, where this is going.
Yep, and like everything else, so this devil knows that he has but a short time. And Trump, he watches us. So here we go. Trump says he'll never apologize for rising gas prices caused by his war against Iran. Well, like everything else, though, why should he? Look at everything that's about to take place. It doesn't even matter. This fucking voting system, that's all out by November anyways. When the merger happens, you can forget about voting and all that. It's over. Stick a fork in their ass and turn them over. They're done. You Edomites, you're done. You know, all those that don't want to believe, you're done. President Trump has said he will never apologize for the higher gas prices Americans are facing due to his war against Iran, downplaying the surges in prices as just a tiny little bit more. The president framed the increase in gas prices as necessary to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, though there was no evidence either before the June 2025 war or the current conflict with Tehran that Tehran was attempting to develop a nuclear bomb. So it doesn't get any more blatant than this, and he doesn't care. You know why? He already sold you out. You know, you dumbasses that went and voted. He doesn't give a fuck about you. Can't reiterate that enough. Iran shifts from defensive to fully offensive posture, denies Trump has back channel with IRGC. You know, like everything else, so, you know, he claims that he's going to extend the Memorandum of Understanding, which expired today, by the way. So it's over. Iran goes fully offensive. MOU expires. Trump threatens Oman. Yeah, that's another thing. He's threatening to bomb Oman, and I'll get that article in a minute. And the back channel is denied. They are not talking to him. He has no contact with IRGC communications. But got more here, right? You know, as we get into this. Let me get this here. Get rid of the stupid commercial first.
For everything, including some of the highest tax.
Okay, good. I can turn that off. So let me fix this. Here we go.
News that Trump just suffered the greatest humiliation of his term and that it came from Iran. Well, many of you will say, Victor, it's not the first time I've heard you say that. But I bet it is the first time you've heard that from the Israeli press. But this is on another level. This, ladies and gentlemen, is on another level. Al Jazeera says so, citing the Israeli press. Al Jazeera, a Qatari outlet allied with the United States, referencing Israel. And both agree with us, with what we have already said many times. Iran humiliates the United States. That is what the Iranian press asserts. But the reason they are saying it this time, friends, is exceptional for them to say. Imagine just how deep this humiliation must have been. How does this story begin? Well, it starts with this speech given by Donald Trump where he claimed the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. territory. Al-Jaja, in case you didn't see the last broadcast, I'll show it to you in just a few seconds. We are lowering prices a lot. Watch what happens. Lowering a lot. And upon finishing, defeating Iran, which is being defeated very severely.
Yeah.
Very soon I will declare the Strait of Hormuz as United States territory.
Look at all these stupid douches that actually share them.
So you want to start a podcast?
I
but
think
you're not
that
sure
they're
how.
paid to
Riverside's got you covered.
pretend
First,
to
go to riverside.com
agree with them
and open
anyway.
an account. And when you're ready
I
to
don't think
record,
that many people support them.
Well, 3 Doritos later, and by 3 Doritos later, take it to mean 3 minutes later, the Iranian government comes out and gives Trump a response that is quite humiliating to the point that even the Qatari, Iranian, and Israeli press all agree on this. Iran's deputy foreign minister, Gharib Abadi, comes out and lands a massive blow. First diplomatic, then military, saying, look, it is Iran's and it will remain Iran's as the guarantor, the master, the owner, and the administrator of the Strait of Hormuz. And that is not going to be changed by Donald Trump, not with a tweet, not with a speech, not with aircraft carriers, nor with executive orders. They are mocking the United States, friends. They are making fun of Donald Trump's statements on behalf of the United States, which is serious because if it were just Trump personally, well, I don't think anyone would pay attention to him anymore. The Israeli press is mocking, the Qatari press is mocking, the Iranians are mocking, Anyans are mocking any destroyer that come to park here, so to speak. And this look was already starting to circulate since April 23rd. This sense of humiliation. This is from today, eh? After this first humiliation that was reported at the time by Al Mayadeen, where back around April 23rd, they were saying, hey, I think Iran is already mocking us, and this is starting to cross the line a bit. Well, now you have the statements from today, August 15th, where this is now a joke. Friends, Trump announces he is declaring Hormuz United States territory, and now all the reactions are coming in, which is no longer just a supposition. Well, imagine, you should even see their faces. Just look at those priceless faces of the U.S. military personnel that Trump was referring to when he said he was going to take ownership of Hormuz, that it was now going to be U.S. territory. I don't know if they are all shouting with joy or pissing themselves laughing. Sorry for putting it that way, but the response that Iran puts out, friends, is, of course, look, we are seeing a symptom of imperial arrogance that has made it clear that the military power the United States once had, today, in the hands of Donald Trump, has been pulverized. Just the other day, Donald Trump was talking about these leaks where Iran was accused of wanting to assassinate him, of wanting to shoot down Air Force One, and Basarate comes out to say, we wouldn't do something like that against Mr. Donald Trump. There is no need. He is destroying the United States better than any other country ever could. As far as we're concerned, he should stay in the presidency. And the most revealing thing, friends, about all this, is that the White House had to come out and say, after this speech that you all saw, which was yesterday, it was just a few hours ago, I gave you the background here of what the Israeli press was already starting to shuffle back in April. And today, friends, this became the laughingstock of everyone, and they even had to come out, well, to say that the President of the United States was joking, right? As if declaring foreign territory were a bad taste joke that can be fixed with a press release. Well, this is what we are going to analyze today, here, friends. I am Victor, this is MF Noticias, and in this broadcast we are going to analyze in depth how Iran has given a geopolitical lesson to the President of the United States, and without firing a single shot, how they have dealt a massive blow today in Hormuz.
So, like everything else, though, he can't even save face. Nope. Nobody's going to worship Trump, you know. He's delusional. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter whether they do. It's not him that they have to worship. It's King Bibi. It's the Israelis. That's what the new law is. Thou shalt worship the beast and its image. Thus, Israeli state's going to take over the world with their new world order. It's a Zionist new world order. It's always been a Zionist plan. So you have to worship them. They consider themselves like God, especially if you listen to Yavari at the World Economic Forum. These are the people that they listen to. It's Amalek. U.S. can't bomb its way to victory. Scott Bessent maps Besant's economic hammer against Iran. So they really think that they are putting pressures against Iran, and it's hilarious, as this guy ignorantly calls, right? So this guy is such a joke, but it's worth the laugh.
For a second, I want to talk about Iran. You have been working behind the scenes in this war to
everything's
dismantle
great.
this regime in Iran economically and inflict kind of heavy financial damage on it. The methods that Treasury has been using to do this in this war have been described as brilliant. From what I understand.
Yeah, his four eyes doesn't know shit.
Multiple networks spread out across several countries that enable Iran's banks to move hundreds of millions of dollars. You're limiting the ways that this regime can move money in ways it seems we haven't seen before. The president is calling this kind of low-keying it right now. We're not going to go back into bombs. We're going to let you try and dismantle this thing in a different way.
As if this is going to work.
Is that how you feel this war could end?
So, Rob, a year ago, last March of 25, the president gave me the order to apply maximum pressure to the Iranian regime, and Treasury did, and we've been going after, as you said, their bank accounts, crypto wallets, assets around the world, cutting off payments into both the leadership in the regime and the government itself. As a result, in December of last year, December of 2025, one of the largest banks, or the largest bank in Iran, collapsed. The central bank had to print money, created huge inflation. Then in March this year, or February, we started the Kinetic War. The Kinetic War ended after several weeks, and we went from epic fury to economic fury. And at the president's orders, we have raised the level even again. And watch this space for more announcements coming next week, because we are going to apply measures like have never been seen in the history of economic
there we go, by the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. How many times have you heard that, right? It's not working. The sanctions haven't worked in years. What makes them think that this is any different? Well, they're considering going to using nuclear weapons because, well, as Scott Ritter puts it, their weapons ain't working anymore. None of it works. Why would they ask for more money for shit that doesn't even work to begin with? So they're considering nuking Iran. U.S. considering nuclear weapons against Iran as war falters. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who stepped down earlier this year, she's actually blowing the whistle on this. Former Congresswoman and Trump ally says D.C. is weighing nuclear escalations as its conventional weapons stocks run low. Also, their conventional weapons don't even work. Former U.S. Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene has claimed that President Trump's administration is discussing using nuclear weapons against Iran as D.C. struggles to sustain its months-long war. And she's calling it insanity. So like everything else, though, you can see that they're desperate. But here's what's going on. To raise morale, which I said it before and I'll say it again, that already, because Iran is fighting for its survival, but now the government is actually offering $30,000 bounty, booties. In the face for more White House threats against Iran, including Scott Bessent's latest unprecedented economic isolation plan for the Islamic Republic, you just heard him a minute ago, it remains clear that the Iranians aren't backing down. Instead, they have issued some heightened bolster of their own. The country's military, in a surprise move, announced Sunday that it's offering a bounty equivalent to $30,000 for killing or capturing U.S. soldiers. So that's even more incentive. You will be rewarded. So they're ready to fight. Iran says it will escalate if the U.S. does not honor deal within weeks, because the memorandum of understanding expired today. Iran will escalate tensions in the Strait and beyond and launch an attack if the U.S. fails to implement an interim peace deal fully in a matter of weeks, senior Iranian official told Reuters on Monday. If the U.S. does not meet the deadline and diplomacy fails, Tehran would conduct a timely and precise military attack to break the U.S. naval blockade against the Islamic Republic. So like everything else, though, you might start seeing ships sunk. And you might actually see Diego Garcia base hit, too. They do have weapons that can reach that, by the way. They just chose not to at this time. Enemies should expect strategic surprises. IRGC commander warns a shift to offensive posture. Brigadier General, the political deputy of the IRGC, made the remarks during a televised interview on Monday. He emphasized that the adversary was the initiator of the conflict, noting that Iran's responses have thus far been purely defensive. However, he warned the defensive stance is poised to evolve, marking a significant transformative shift in the military strategic doctrine. The enemy should know that it cannot catch us off guard, he stated. Instead, it's the enemy must anticipate strategic surprises. So, like everything else, expect everything to change. And we'll play a little bit of this, because it looks like I got a feed here. Hopefully it plays. Well, they don't like you looking at videos like this. Slovakia. U.S. sailors hungry and suicidal across multiple warships deployed for war. Several sailors have reportedly attempted suicide by jumping overboard amid deteriorating conditions on U.S. aircraft carriers engaged in the war against Iran. So it's not just the Lincoln. The Lincoln just happens to be one of the ones that's heavier reported. U.S. sailors serving on several Navy aircraft carriers are experiencing mental health breakdowns and suffering from shortages of basic living necessities, including food and water, due to extended deployments to support the war against Iran. They have virtually no food, water, or soap. A close relative of one sailor serving abroad, the USS George H.W. Bush, told Midas Touch. So it's pretty bad, and Midas Touch is a really good channel, which I'm subscribed to. So, either way, though, this is some
aboard
of
the
it here.
USS Abraham Lincoln have tried to jump overboard amid poor conditions and mental stress on the ship. This is according to new reporting from the Military Times, which spoke to the wife of one of those sailors, who says she's spoken to her husband only a handful of times since he tried to jump. He is now on a medical hold. The Military Times is also reporting severe food shortages on board, and that sailors are running out of just basic needs: toothpaste, deodorant, soap. This crew has been at sea for 9 months amid Trump's war in Iran. That includes 250 consecutive days without setting foot on land. 250 consecutive days. That is a record. Out front now, Natalie Olivero. She is a Military Times journalist.
According to Trump, they hadn't served long enough, as he mocks at them. And the president is mocking at you. While he's boasting, Trump threatens to bomb Oman if it gets in the way of the U.S.-Iran negotiations. Well, that's funny because Iran's not even talking to Trump at all. U.S. President Trump on Monday threatened military action against Oman if it interferes with the U.S.-Iran negotiations, saying D.C. is in direct contact with officials from IRGC. Well, guess what? IRGC had already denied that, as you hadn't guessed. So, like everything else, though, he's threatening another country now. Threatening to bomb another country. With what? With what weapons? Your weapons don't even work. They don't work, and you ain't even got them anyways. Israeli attacks push Lebanon deeper into economic crisis. Lebanese families are struggling to make ends meet as the country's long-running financial crisis deepens. See, this is what the Israelis do. And they're hoping to do the same with Iran with economic pressure. So, got a couple more here before I close this out. So yeah, same shit, but just on a different day. Economic pressure. And that's what they're doing to break down Lebanon. And Syria. They've done that to Syria. They've been doing that to Bashar al-Assad for years. You know, and pretty much all that Hayat al-Sham has is a broken down, hardly even powerful Syria.
According to the World Bank, around a third of the Lebanese population live below the poverty line, and nowhere is a pinch felt more than here at the petrol pump.
Fuel prices have surged again, adding to the pressure on households already struggling with the cost of basic necessities. In February, the government itself pushed up the cost of petrol by more than 25%, leading to anger on the streets. For taxi drivers, the rise in the cost of petrol has hit hard.
As public drivers, we are also grappling with the additional burden of rising gas prices. I remember not long ago when I could fill my tank for about $40 a week. Now, I hesitate to even take my car to the gas station. We have reached a point where we are searching for alternative jobs because driving a taxi is no longer a viable way to make a living.
And fuel is just one part of a much deeper economic crisis. State electricity remains unreliable, forcing households and businesses to turn to private generators, effectively paying twice for power. Rent and food prices rocketed by 20% in 2025 alone, and with many facing unpaid wages, people are struggling to get by.
If the economic situation continues as it is, I'm telling you, there will be a social explosion. People will turn against one another because when hunger strikes, boundaries disappear. We are living on borrowed time, dependent on international decisions and aid from organizations that provide us with basic necessities like lentils and rice.
So there you have it, though, economic pressure. That's what they were hoping to do with Iran. But instead, it's now come upon the world, causing all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive. That's right, it's coming. The MOTB is coming with this worldwide crisis as the Israelis, the IDF, take over everything.
Sometimes I think I might be living in a nightmare. Everyone I talk to is just shocked at how we are destroying this country in real time. I mean, let me know down below in the comments if you feel that way. How is it possible that
Babylon the Great is ceasing to be a power?
Global world order that would leave like the Roman Empire shocked and appalled. After all, the Roman Empire took about 200 years to finally collapse. We are moving way faster at warp speed trying to collapse. But make no mistake about it, the United States and China are now locked in an open battle for financial supremacy. This is the real war, and it's happening. And this week, China moved its biggest pieces across the global chessboard, while Washington raced towards $40 trillion in debt. It's happening. $40 trillion. I mean, you can't make this up. It's total madness. So we've got a bunch of huge news stories the mainstream media are totally ignoring right now that I want to go over. But first, before I forget, I've been surgically gathering info on the massive breakout in gold stocks that I see coming. I was shocked to learn that Wall Street billionaire, legendary fund manager Howard Marks, more than half of China's own trade is already settled in renminbi. Then came the bombshell this week that Deutsche Bank became the first non-Chinese bank in Europe to authorize a clear renminbi transaction pathway. So that's a direct bridge into China that doesn't depend on dollars or the American SWIFT system. Bye-bye. We don't need you anymore. Deutsche Bank is also issuing panda bonds, as they call them, which are debt denominated in yuan instead of dollars for the first time. This is happening in Deutsche Bank. So China doesn't have to replace the dollar overnight. It's not going to. It only needs enough parallel rails in place to weaken Washington's weapon, which is sanctions. So across the BRICS nations, more trade is now moving into those local currencies at record speed. And China is backing it with something that Washington cannot print, gold. And that, my friends, is the other huge story of the week. So we just learned, of course, that China just bought 20 tons of gold, a new record, in 1 week. And it's no coincidence that Senator Rand Paul finally got invited to Fort Knox this week after years of asking to go. They finally let him see the gold there. Huh. He went there right as China bought up all of this gold? It's very interesting. I don't believe in coincidences at all. So you see what's happening here, right? China buys 20 tons of gold. The U.S. is trying to comfort our allies that, don't worry, we have some gold too, even though the U.S. dollar is not tied to it, so who cares? And then in between all of this huge fight between China and the U.S. sits Japan. So Japan is now trapped directly in this crossfire. And the yen basically collapsed last week, falling to 4-decade lows. The U.S. Treasury then jumps in to prop it up with billions of dollars trying to save it. Then, right as that's happening, Russian President Putin landed on the hotly contested Japanese island called Littoral. Now, Japan says that island belongs to us. What are you doing there? Russia says, no, sorry, I'm going anyway. It's a contested island, so you can pound sand. Japan was pissed, called the visit absolutely unacceptable. Putin did it anyway. So again, you see what's happening here. The U.S. tries to show strength against China, propping up Japan. Then China's ally, Russia, shows up and says, hey, we're the ones with the strength, not you. Have fun with your $40 trillion in debt while we build an entirely new currency system that's backed by gold. And we haven't even talked about the manufacturing problems that the U.S. is facing right now. So the U.S. is getting crushed compared to China's manufacturing. Not even close. So the FCC just blocked authorization of new foreign-made advanced robot components. So the actuators that go in like to the hands of the robots, all these pieces that were coming out of China, sorry, the FCC said no more. Meaning that if you're making robots in the United States, more than 65% of those component costs must come from inside the United States. But we don't make them. So this is not a victory. That's Washington slamming the emergency button because China has already built the entire supply chain first. Catherine Austin Fitts described this contrast perfectly when I interviewed her this week.
China has some real economic problems, and I don't want to underestimate them, but if you look at what they're doing to apply technology, we're applying technology for control, and they're applying technology to make something better, faster, cheaper.
And who gets crushed while Washington fights for global supremacy? You do. Well, President Trump is now actually trying to convince American voters ahead of the midterms that paying more for gasoline is fine because of the war against Iran.
So I just say this. So for you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline, just remember, you're doing it so that a very evil country cannot have. A country really is the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world. We don't want to have a nuclear weapon. So remember that when you have to pay a little bit more than $4. Okay, I mean, it's, I'll never apologize. I did the right thing.
Are you kidding me? Good luck with that. Because of the Iran war that we are fighting on behalf of Israel, Americans have to pay more for energy and groceries? Just shut up and take it. Okay, Americans don't want higher gas, groceries, or electric bills, and they absolutely do not want war with Iran. Overwhelmingly, those numbers are in. Period, end of story. And any Israeli first neocon type, MAGA type, trying to convince you otherwise is compromised and paid for. So Trump's approval just hit 33% in the latest Economist YouGov poll. With the midterms approaching, this is catastrophic. And our debt is catastrophic. America's debt is above $39.9 trillion and could cross $40 trillion before this month is over. Peter Schiff says this is why the Federal Reserve has effectively chosen inflation. It cannot raise rates high enough to crush prices without detonating the federal government's interest expense. Listen to Peter.
Warsh is correct that inflation is a choice, but the reason the Fed keeps choosing inflation is because the deficits are so big, and the bigger the deficits get, the more pressure there is on the Fed.
Welcome
to choose
to the
inflation.
digital
Because
dollar.
The more
It's
economic
coming
pain
out of this.
is going to be felt immediately if they don't choose inflation.
That's the nightmare. Washington protects its mountain of debt by sacrificing your purchasing power, because they don't care about you. So prices keep rising, your savings buys less, your paycheck buys less, and the government calls that stability. So now as we transition, I want you to look at these 5 charts, because this tells everything. Because the de-dollarization trade is in full effect. As economist Peter Schiff says, the de-dollarization trade is moving into gold again. Listen.
Foreign central banks are accumulating gold, and so I think that trade, that de-dollarization trade, is back on. And the disaster of a situation that we created in Iran, that is, I think, fueling the resurgence of the de-dollarization trade.
And he's right. Look at these charts. So this is the Global Fund Manager survey. This fund manager
We told you
undervalued
a long time ago, didn't we?
So big money is now shifting.
This war
the
would
long
be
dollar trade is 2 standard
the
deviations
trigger
overcrowded, just like it was in December
that brings in, ushers in the MOTB, causes the crash of the dollar, and you're watching in real time.
This is the S&P
News
500
reports.
ratio chart.
So, how much more evidence do you need, right? It's all happening. The whole thing is collapsing. Got a couple more here, right? Because you also got the other straight block, right? Because of this current Saudi war against Yemen. Yemeni armed forces strike Saudi landing ship, naval boats in Red Sea. So you can't go through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and you can't go through the Strait of Hormuz. Nothing's getting out. Yemeni armed forces struck Saudi landing ship on several escort boats in the Red Sea in retaliation for Saudi Arabia's ongoing military campaign and blockade. Brigadier General spokesman for the armed forces said on Monday that military units carried out the operation off the coast of the port of Mocha and deployed a number of ballistic missiles against the vessels. The strike was precise and direct and resulted in the complete destruction of the Saudi landing ship and the sinking of several vessels. The remaining vessels were also set ablaze. So like everything else, things are picking up. And then, don't forget about the Israeli invasion of Syria. Remember, and yeah, the highlight of this whole thing is that they are going after the, plantation Christianity. They're looking to get rid of that to where you just worship them, the Amalekites. So that's why all the Christians were wiped out of Syria and totally destroyed. You also got Israelites in Syria, better known as the tribe of Ephraim. You have a huge remnant of those in Syria. And that's why Isaiah chapter 17 verse 3 goes into that a lot. So like everything else, so, you're seeing, these Israelis, get really close to establishing their new world order. So it is going to be run through the Israeli state. And we already told you that the least of the flock shall draw everyone else, shall make their habitations desolate with them. As they try to rule over the world, they're going to use the Samson option, and nuclear war is going to happen. Multiple new Israeli raids were reported in Syria over the weekend, including raids on villages in Quneitra and another incident on Friday when Israeli terrorists opened fire in the western Dara village of Maria. In Quneitra, government troops raided Jabhat al-Qassab, backed by 6 military vehicles searching for a home before withdrawing. Later Saturday, troops raided Al-Rifid, searching for several more homes there. No arrests were reported, so they just, pretty much establishing their law. And you don't think this shit ain't going to happen here in Babylon, that they're not going to come in with their militaries. Yeah, IDF is going to be coming in with their militaries. This place, Babylon's going to look like Gaza. So, hey, we've warned you time and time again. We've been saying it. Now it's just happening. Eventually we won't be saying it anymore because it's going to be happening. So hopefully this has been edifying. Got one more here before I close this out. So these small hats, these Amalekites, already said that they were going to go after Syria and Turkey after they're done with Iran. They'll never be done with Iran, but they're going to go after them. Isaiah chapter 17, it reads, "A burden against Damascus. Behold, Damascus will cease from being a city, and it will be a ruinous heap. And like everything else, though, this war is going to spill over. The cities of Aurora are forsaken, they will be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none will make them afraid. The fortress will also cease from Ephraim, which is, better known as the southern tribes. A remnant of the southern tribes is in Damascus. The kingdom from Damascus and the remnant of Syria shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, says the Lord of hosts. And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall wane, and the fatness of his flesh will grow lean. Pretty much talking about how, a lot of people are going to die in this Third World War. And again, you still have a remnant of Ephraim in Syria. And also tells you in 2nd Ezra chapter 16, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia, will be unto thee, let me get it, Salakia, I just better get it. I might be saying it wrong. Babylon and Asia, I'm pretty sure it says it that way. Let me get it. Don't want to misquote anything. Yeah, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia, and Babylon, this one's talking about Iraq. Okay, Iraq and Asia, right? And woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria, which is, symbolic of, Babylon, right? Because you have ancient Babylon, you have modern day Babylon. So Iraq and Syria, and like everything else, though, this is where the Third World War is, right? A sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? Fire is set among you, who may quench it? So this Third World War is pretty much approaching. And as that approaches, they're going to establish their new world order, their one world government, and then all hell will break loose. All hell's beginning to break loose, but we ain't seen nothing yet. Things are just accelerating. So hopefully this has all been edifying. Get this while you can. Eventually they're going to ban the Bible. They're going to definitely ban us from teaching it. And so a fan of the words around the corner too. Everything's in place. Then it'll say Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatum, Jehovah Olek, Shalom.